Good morning, Periscope, and good morning, Facebook. Today, my live broadcast is going to be going over vitamin D deficiencies. So, for those of you that's your first time looking at this broadcast live, I'm Dr. Shawan Gillette. I'm a certified trichologist, a doctor of naturopathic medicine, and also a hairstylist of 28 years. My goal is to help women with hair loss issues, getting to the root cause of their hair loss. If this is your first time looking at this broadcast, what I like to encourage the audience to do is to share this video. So when you get a chance, if you could share it so that it could help other women that are experiencing hair loss, or even men that have vitamin D deficiencies. So the first thing I want to talk about is vitamin D. What is vitamin D? Vitamin D is a fat-soluble vitamin. It is a vitamin that's not naturally present in a lot of foods. So for some foods, it is actually fortified into that food. Then also with vitamin D, the way we can get vitamin D is from the sun rays, the ultraviolet sun rays. Once they hit our skin, it causes a vitamin D synthesis to occur within our skin. Now, let's talk about some of the sources of vitamin D. So one of the first things is, like I mentioned before, there are few foods that actually have vitamin D naturally present in those foods. So for those foods that don't, there are foods that are actually fortified with vitamin D. So some of those foods that have vitamin D added is cereal has been fortified with vitamin D in some cases, and then also yogurt is fortified with vitamin D, some orange juice, and also milk. There are other foods that naturally have some sources of vitamin D, which is salmon, sardines, egg yolk, and shrimp. So those are your sources of vitamin D. So you want to keep that in mind when you're trying to raise your levels of vitamin D. Those are the sources of vitamin D that will help you raise your levels up. The next thing I want to talk about is the benefits of vitamin D. So vitamin D has several important functions. One of the most important functions and vital function of vitamin D is the regulating of absorption of calcium and phosphorus, and also the regulating of normal immune function. So vitamin D is very, very important. The next thing is that vitamin D helps to fight disease. Vitamin D fights depression, brain health. It boosts weight loss, hormone regulation, and also bone health. So those are some of your benefits to vitamin D. Now that we know the benefits, we also know some of the sources, and we know what vitamin D is. Let's talk about some of the symptoms of vitamin D deficiency. But before we go there, let's talk about how do you know that your body is vitamin D deficient. The first thing you have to do is you have to go to a doctor or to a laboratory and have your blood drawn. And what they do is they look at the total serum concentration of vitamin D. And that's how you find out what your levels are with vitamin D. So with vitamin D symptoms of deficiency, one of the things I want to say is a lot of times when your body's deficient in vitamin D, there are no symptoms present at all. But when you do have symptoms, these are some of the symptoms that are present with vitamin D deficiencies. The first one is you have a difficult time thinking very clearly, bone pain, frequent bone fractures, also muscle weakness, soft bones that result in deformities, and then also unexplained fatigue. So those are some of the symptoms of vitamin D deficiencies. Now, like I said before, there are some times where vitamin D doesn't have any symptoms at all that are present. So one of the things about vitamin D is that there have been studies shown that have a correlation between vitamin D and hair loss. The studies show that there's a possible link between vitamin D deficiencies and telogen effluvium. Now, telogen effluvium is just the excessive shedding of hair. And then there's also studies shown between the possible link of female pattern hair loss and vitamin D deficiencies. Now, what this happens is that there is a relationship between the serum levels of vitamin D and ferritin. Now, ferritin is a protein that's found in the cells that allow our cells to store iron. intelligent effluvium, and female pattern hair loss. So once again, I'll mention that again. There are studies that have been shown where there's a link between vitamin D and ferritin. And ferritin is a protein that allows our cells to actually store iron. The study concluded that low ferritin and vitamin D are associated with both types of hair loss, and that's telogen effluvium, which is the excessive shedding of hair, and then also female pattern hair loss. The study also suggested that supplementation of vitamin D is a possible treatment for those type of hair losses when when the body's deficient in hair loss. I'm deficient in vitamin D. I'm sorry about that. So one of the things I always say is that as a trichologist, we have seen several really good results with increasing vitamin D when it comes to vitamin D deficiencies and hair loss. So I hope that this session has helped you out a lot, talking about vitamin D deficiencies, the correlation between vitamin D and hair loss, whether it's telogen effluvium or female pattern hair loss. Also, the different symptoms of vitamin D, the different areas that vitamin D can help our body, and then also the different foods that are available to us to help us with vitamin D. Once again, my name is Dr. Shawan Gillette. I'm a doctor of naturopathic medicine. I hope that this has helped you out a lot with learning about vitamin D. If you have any more questions, just inbox me, or also call our office at Dayton Trichology to schedule a consultation to find out if your body is or if your hair loss is coming from a vitamin D deficiency. Our number is 937-281-0555. Once again, I'm Dr. Gillette with Dayton Trichology, and that concludes our session on vitamin D deficiencies.